let me introduce Swapnil Kothari with us here on the broadcast, and Mr. Shashikant, who is the former DGP of Punjab. Good afternoon to you, gentlemen. Shashikant ji, your experience as a policeman, sir, are these signs and impressions of a hardened criminal to actually plan a perfect murder, sir?
Hardened criminal? I don't think he's a hardened criminal. He's a monster. He's a monster who could keep his food along with the body parts in the same fridge and eat. And the gory details which are coming, I don't think that any human can do it. He's not a human. Certainly, he's not a human. And I think it requires strictest of the punishments. And besides that, like I have been saying earlier, it should be an eye-opener for the society also. Because it's a collective failure, whether it's a family, whether it's friends, whether the community where he was living, even for the police. It's really a sad thing, but I think if you get some lessons, learn some lessons out of this thing, that will be thing. And this monster, I think he has no right to remain, to live. Sorry for saying this thing, but I'm really moved, and I can't say anything else. That's the word which comes to my mouth, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely, because it is rendered one and all speechless, isn't it, Swapnil? And the kind of details that have been coming in every day, it shocks us even more. That such is the length that one individual could go through. I mean, inspired by any thriller series or by books anyway, how can they plan or even think of such a thing?
Well, Amita, it's one of the grisliest crimes that I have noticed in my lifetime. And I hope that I don't see any of those things again. 35 body parts, putting them in the refrigerator, eating the food from the same refrigerator. I think you don't have to be a human being. You have to be a complete monster. You have to be possessed by some sort of a demon. And, I hope that he doesn't use any of these defenses or his lawyers, which I'm sure they'll try to say that he was mentally deranged of unsound mind, that he was not in a position to formulate a criminal intention which is necessary to contemplate or to plan a murder. Of course, those defenses will fall apart when, the prosecution gangs up with all the incriminating evidence possible and to try to show that this man had a premeditated intention to murder, because that is how he brought her to Mehrauli on the 15th of May. And within 3 days, he called it, he called it a day, and he murdered her and dissected the body. So obviously that means that he obviously had intentions of doing so. More so important than all of this is that how many people were visiting the flat at that time. Was this only a singular job, or was this a group attempt? And thereafter also several women have been seen to be arriving at his flat. Now, who are these women? Why are they arriving? What is his modus operandi? All of these things the police will have to investigate, whether this is just a singular crime by some person who was possibly, a very, very vengeful person or a vindictive person. And of course, 302 applies here regardless of any defense that he may pose. But whether it was a concerted attempt, it was a group attempt, whether it was a part of a larger conspiracy, whether it is a part of a larger regime, and not only that, but I think the police need to look at all his previous contacts, all his Bumble app or whatever that he tried to find this women, and whether all the other women that he interacted with or claims to have met, are they safe? Because this can, go into, if he's some sort of a serial killer, if he has some sort of a fetish in all of these kind of things, then I think other women are also not safe. So this is one of those rarest of rare cases which definitely invites the death penalty. And I hope that it's a fast track and it's over in no time the way Nirbhaya was.
But that depends on the kind of case, and a watertight case, Shashikantji, that depends on the police that they have to make, because they are literally racing against time, sir. But 6 months have passed. What exactly do you believe that the police would be having the main challenges? Because such kind of a criminal and the mindset, I mean, to even clean using the, chemicals, because he knew to remove the stench that was emanating from where he had been storing the body parts. That's a lot of thinking and planning has gone into it, sir.
I think it's a challenge not only for the police, but it will be a bigger challenge even for the judiciary. Whether they grant sort of whether it's hanged by neck till death or whatever it is. Yes, connecting all the loose ends certainly is going to a big task, very big task, like where all he had kept it, who all visited, like the other gentleman is saying here. He was telling my co-panelists that his guys who visited there, the women who visited there, whether they were aware or not. And a very pertinent point he has mentioned, my co-panelists, that whether it was a group thing. All these things have to be ascertained. And I'm thinking that since this guy is not speaking, probably it's about time that the police moves for his narco test also, because I'm told that he's keeping absolutely mum. So all sorts of scientific gadgets at the disposal of the police are to be used to get the truth out of this person, out of this monster.
But that lays a point there, isn't it, Swapnil? Especially, on the behavioral patterns, we've been speaking to the doctors. Doctors have been saying that he appeared very overconfident and he was speaking very fast. But when it comes to the police's side to even conduct either a polygraph test or a narco analysis or a psychoanalysis, the permission of the accused here, I believe, is also needed.
Yes.
Well, I think the accused may or may not accede to that request, but I think it's the court at the end of the day which, if the police present the circumstances appropriate to the court, and they can fetch a permission directly or an order from the court directing the polygraph people to conduct that test. So the accused is definitely going to have the right to not to incriminate himself. And so he's not going to say, yes, I'll go undergo this test, regardless of how confident or overconfident that he may be. But I think that will just form one aspect of evidence. I mean, the polygraph test, whether he's lying, whether he's telling the truth, all of these circumstances which you're finding, 35 body parts, the meat cleaver, the witness doctor, then there are several other witnesses who were in the Meroli area who must have seen this gentleman leaving at 2 a.m. in the morning every single day after the murder, the kind of women that visited him, the people who visited him. So you have to understand one thing, that, if I'm the neighbor of this man, I would have noticed something fishy, in the sense that if I see that there is a couple that has moved in and I only see one person coming out every single day, then I'm definitely going to wonder and ask him as to what has happened to the other partner of yours, And then if the answers are not forthcoming, then I'll start smelling something fishy. So I'm a little surprised that in this crowded neighborhood, nobody found anything unusual. And then that's where the police needs to dig into it and try to find out that there is obviously some unusual activity going on. And, somebody would have noticed something fishy, something unusual, because this is not something, which is very easily digestible, that you go out at 2 a.m. every morning and nobody really senses it, or everybody is so fast asleep that they don't know what the hell is going on. So it's a collection of evidences. It's going to be circumstantial, both, and direct in certain aspects,
Absolutely.
which is then going to lead to the conviction of this man.
Absolutely, because if I can go back to my reporters right now, Shivani, what does it really speak of the society at large? I mean, even when it comes to the relatives, even the father, I mean, Shraddha had lost her mother and thereafter she started to maintain distance. But apart from the differences, why wasn't a red flag already being raised or a suspicion already raised when she was incommunicado for several months?